Scripture traces God's covenant promises through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, revealing that fulfillment does not come through human effort, but through God's appointed timing and divine election. God promised Abraham that he would become the father of many nations, yet for decades the promise remained unfulfilled. Abraham believed God, but the promise was fulfilled only at the time God had appointed. In Genesis 21, Scripture records the birth of Isaac, the child of promise. Significantly, this moment coincides with the 33rd mention of Abraham's name in Genesis. At that point, what had long been spoken becomes reality. Promise anticipated gives way to promise fulfilled. Isaac was not merely Abraham's biological son. Scripture emphasizes that Isaac was the covenant heir, chosen by God to carry the promise forward. As Paul later explains, "Through Isaac shall your offspring be named." Romans 9:7. The promise did not continue through human striving, but through divine promise. Paul reinforces this truth when he writes, "Now you, brothers, like Isaac, are children of promise." Galatians 4:28. Isaac's birth establishes a defining covenant principle. Inheritance flows through God's promise, not through flesh, effort, or lineage alone. That same covenant pattern continues through Jacob. In Genesis 28, Jacob encounters God in a vision of a ladder reaching from earth to heaven, with angels ascending and descending. This moment occurs at the 33rd mention of Jacob's name in Genesis, marking a pivotal transition. God reaffirms the Abrahamic covenant to Jacob, promising land, descendants, and divine presence. Here, once again, 33 marks a covenant threshold. Jacob moves from uncertainty to confirmation, from fleeing to promise, from human striving to divine assurance. Years later, in Genesis 35, God appears to Jacob again and seals that promise by changing his name. "Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel." The covenant promise spoken earlier is now fixed in identity. Promise leads to inheritance, and inheritance leads to transformation. Through Abraham, promise is spoken. Through Isaac, promise is fulfilled. Through Jacob, promise becomes identity. Paul draws this line forward again, declaring that those united with Christ are heirs of this same promise. If you belong to Christ, then you are Abraham's offspring, heirs according to promise. Galatians 3:29. From Abraham's promise, to Isaac's birth, to Jacob's transformation, Scripture reveals a consistent divine rhythm. God speaks, God waits, and God fulfills. And once again, the number 33 stands at the transition point, where promise moves from expectation into reality, and covenant moves from word into identity.